Hey, welcome back, guys, to episode 3 of the Side Quest Saga, and this week's topic is Avatar: The Last Airbender. This episode is titled Balance Restored, The Legacy of the Avatar. So jumping into the Avatar, obviously, we have, before we get into that, we have our usual host here with me, Wash and Money. Welcome back, guys. Good to see you guys. But
appreciate you. Good to see you.
Hope
too.
everybody's doing well.
For sure.
So we'll jump into a little synopsis here. Keep it short. In a world divided into 4 nations, water, earth, fire, and air, some people can bend elements through their martial arts-inspired power. At the center of it all is the Avatar, the one who can master every element and keep balance between worlds. 100 years ago, the Fire Nation began a war that destroyed the air nomads, leaving the world in chaos. Their target was Aang, a 12-year-old airbender who vanished, only to reawaken a century later by siblings Katara and Sokka after they freed him from an iceberg. Together they journey across the world so Aang can master the elements and stop Fire Lord Ozai. Along the way they're joined by allies like Toph, who invents metal bending, and even former enemies like Prince Zuko, whose redemption becomes one of the show's most powerful arcs. In the end, Aang faces his greatest test, defeating Ozai without losing his compassion. His choice proves that true strength isn't about destruction, but balance, empathy, and peace. All right, guys. So I think we're going to start off with I think we said introduction, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, let's see here.
Right before we start, I just want to say Avatar: The Last Airbender is the best cartoon ever made.
100%.
I can agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone that can dispute that or argue that. 100%. I think
they would be incorrect if they tried to. Now, when it comes down to characters, I know we all have different opinions. But
You have a different opinion.
Yeah.
I think everybody else is on the same in the same boat.
No. I have a very different opinion.
We'll get to that, and we'll tell you why you're wrong when we get to that point.
so. I think before we jump into the main topics, I think we should ask 2 questions. First, we'll start with you, Wash. Define what the Avatar represents. What do you think it represents?
Okay, I think that's an easy one for anybody that's watched it.
Yeah.
I think the Avatar really is just the embodiment of balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he serves as this bridge between the spirit and the physical world.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's almost like what we would equate like a priest in some ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
But definitely a bridge, and he's basically the gatekeeper of harmony and making sure that all 4 nations kind of, you know what I'm saying, like work together and, you know, reduce any type of conflict and whatnot. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say he's also like a symbol of hope, especially for that particular story that's happening in the Last Airbender, where the Fire Nation's just been taking off on everybody. And then he shows back up, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's going to restore that balance that you was talking about.
Yeah.
Because it was so much imbalance before he came back.
Yeah, before the previous Avatar had disappeared and they had the 100-year gap. Yeah. There was a huge amount of
the previous
chaos.
Avatar didn't disappear. He just didn't stand on business.
Yeah. Well, he did vanish. Yeah, he did vanish, but
I think he's talking about the fire.
Roku.
The fire, yeah.
Yeah, Roku.
He ain't stand on business.
He didn't stand on business.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to be graceful. I think that's also an element of being an Avatar, right?
Yeah.
Grace.
Like, grace. That's a big element, and you see it play out even with Aang.
Yeah. Man, bro, you just gotta.
What did you think he should have did?
You know what? I'm not even going like criticize him for real because that was his friend. What's his name? Sozin. Sozin is his friend. You know what I mean? They was childhood friends, so I can't really. But you need friends that's gonna call you out. You know what I'm saying?
But I also feel like a childhood friend, you gotta look. They were separated for an extended amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And then they kind of came back
because he became the Avatar.
Yeah, once they were appointed into their proper positions. I do feel like sometimes we stay true to the people we knew at a certain phase, not allowing room for, hey, this person could have changed, et cetera, et cetera.
Altered their views.
Yeah. So I do think that was flawed. You can't make a decision for all 4, nations and actually maintain peace without also checking your personal relationships.
That's a good take though, because that's another part. That's another theme that's constantly replayed in the show. Like the image of yourself and then who you really are.
Self-image.
Yeah, your self-image and then who you really are, who you know what I'm saying, who you discover yourself to actually be.
It's almost I don't know if you guys can agree with this, but it's almost like being a president, of like how we have a president for the U.S. It's very similar because you're making decisions that might impact an entire country, but it might not represent what everybody wants.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult because the avatar is the person that is supposed to make the toughest decisions, obviously, to keep everyone in harmony and in sync with each other. Because all the nations, whether people realize it or not, obviously they all serve a symbolic purpose between earth, fire, water, and air.
Mm-hmm.
So they all serve a symbolic purpose to keep everything in harmony.
In harmony, yeah.
So if one, obviously, as we see in the show, the Fire Nation is completely wrecked everything, and it's completely thrown off the balance of all the other elements. So because it makes it harder for them to become benders or to even know their bending history, because most of the history has been wiped out.
Yeah, it was going on an ethnic erasure.
Yeah, but I think
basically,
also,
it's basically a bending apartheid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Elemental
For sure.
apartheid.
Yeah, but I think another element of that, what I was also hinting at before, is checking your personal bias.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to as a leader in any position.
You can't have any bias,
Because you can't let those personal relationships.
You show favoritism.
You can't. Like, you have to be impartial. So I think Roku did fail in being impartial.
He did.
And maybe that's why he did disappear.
At the same time, the nuance of it is I also want to extend grace, right? So I think, again, that kind of trickles over into Aang's story as well. And you see it, how do I be impartial, or how do I actually still maintain this harmony without doing something that's against my core beliefs?
Yeah, and that's another big part of the show, like with the whole Avatar state and then, the reincarnation themes that they got on there. If you notice, every previous Avatar failed at some point, and the decisions they made rested on the next Avatar to fix. Yeah. So like Kyoshi, she messed up, and Roku had to try to fix that.
No one was perfect.
Roku messed up. Aang had to fix that. And we're not gonna get into Legend of Korra, but even Aang messed up in his adult years, and then Korra had to try to fix that.
Well, I feel Aang messed up as well. Obviously, towards the end during the fire, when he's fighting Fire Lord Ozai, because what he did not realize, and none of it was prepped for him throughout his lessons through the Avatar state, and obviously every spiritual encounter that he had throughout his elemental learning, but he wasn't necessarily prepared emotionally or physically for energy bending, because as you see in the Legend of Korra, energy bending is big, and I don't want to get off too much topic here, but in Avatar, he takes Fire Lord Ozai's abilities, and he's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he is the first Avatar to actually have done that.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
And he realized it shows that harmony that without yourself being in total control, he could have lost himself just as easily as he could have taken Fire Lord Ozai. And even as the Avatar, someone who's that strong, he couldn't harness that ability and really prepare himself for any of that. So I think that was also a mistake that he kind of learned, because even after he did it, you kind of saw the emotional toll that it took on him after he took someone's bending, because he didn't know he could do it. It just kind of happened. Yeah. So it's one of those things, it goes along with just saying everyone had made a major mistake at some point, and it caused them to damage their reputation of the Avatar.
At the end of the day,
the next person has to
Aang
fix
was
that.
12 years old. Man.
Yeah, as a 12-year-old, no.
That was actually a really good decision.
It was.
As a 12-year-old. And I think, I also
because it was either death or remove his bending.
Yeah, but I also like the fact that they show these avatars still as having that human element, where they're not perfect, and even though they serve as this bridge, they still have those imperfections as well. So I think it's just something that you can kind of connect with on a different level.
Yeah. Because I ain't gonna lie, you place that type of responsibility or that power on me at 12 years old.
Fire Nation gone.
They gone.
Yeah.
I'm finna
I'm
air it out. The whole Fire Nation. I'm about to air it out. Everybody gone. Get out. Everybody gone on the floor.
So the next question we have, what do you guys think the cultural aspect was, or the cultural impact of the show was?
I think honestly, now I did my little research because I wasn't for sure, But like Avatar's not necessarily classified as anime, right?
It's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
We got into this the other day.
Yeah. But if you had to classify it outside of a cartoon, they would put it as like American anime.
Yeah.
So I really just like the
which is just
animation.
Cartoons.
Which is just cartoon.
Just
yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah.
But I like the animation. I like how they kind of stuck to Nickelodeon's kind of like trope of writing and creating content with the storytelling,
with the Eastern philosophies, though.
Yeah, but with
it was a mesh. It was a good mesh of Eastern and Western philosophies.
It was such a balance, and I think they nailed it perfectly in that. So I think that in and of itself, as far as the animation, the storytelling, the character development, and I think everybody can resonate with certain characters, and I like that they showed it across various characters. Yeah, and the villains. You don't get that a lot.
I will and the villains were really good too, though.
I will straight up say that, and y'all can disagree with me. I don't really care.
Probably will.
That this for even for like an anime or a cartoon series, like I will say it straight up. I don't care. I think that the Avatar: The Last Airbender had the greatest character arcs for every single character of any show, because it's not just about most shows make it about the main characters or the side characters, and they kind of leave off the side characters. Avatar didn't do that. Every character played a role, even if they were a side character and there was just like a kind of one-off episode. It didn't just die off on that one-off episode. Those lessons carried throughout the show. Yeah, like even Sokka. Sokka obviously is a main character, but he doesn't have the same capabilities. So they kind of bended that to make it more so about him learning as, kind of learning how women can play a part in war and other things, because obviously coming from the water tribe, he thought, only men fight, only men do this, only men do that. But then when he meets the Kyosha warriors, he learns a big lesson. And then you kind of see him shift. Yeah. He makes that shift, and he sees like he can rely on other people. Like obviously, like he can't. Like he thought, I had to do it all.
I think that's a good point. Sokka did have a good character development because
it's not just one. It's every character.
You see his girl. He saw his girlfriend die, turn into the moon. That really made him have like an overprotective type thing. And then with him and Katara trying to be the big brother, and his father leaving, feel like he had to be the man of the village to take care of everybody.
Every character had a major
divvying out to everybody else, trusting everybody else to training
the kids to fight.
But I feel like Sokka's main development really revolves around leadership.
Yeah,
100%.
What you guys just talked about, and I think also that challenge he had of not having those abilities, not being able to bend. And trying to figure out how do I fit in, but how can I also lead?
I'm sorry, bro, but if you had to tell me I had to master a boomerang, I'm done, bro. I'm done.
It's over with.
I'm done, man. I'm going to throw that shit and hit myself in the head. I'm going to knock myself out on the battlefield. I'm done, bro. But, honestly, like I said, I don't know if you guys agree with it, but I think even the villains had, you had Azula.
Love her.
And like her relentless chase to be perfect or like perfectly imperfect, essentially, because, her bending was so perfect that she crafted the blue flame, which was the purest form of firebending. Yeah. And she was one of the only people who could generally basically do that, on a consistent basis.
Yeah, because she was in a toxic environment.
Well, Iroh could, but you have to understand that, Iroh, obviously after the tale of Ba Sing Se, you see why he's not the Dragon of the West anymore. Like, he's still the Dragon of the West, but he's not what he used to be. And I think that played a huge part.
He's one of the most important characters in the show.
I will say he's not the most important. I say he is the biggest character. Iroh
was teaching me lessons watching it.
I love Iroh, but to say he's the most important,
he was teaching people lessons not in the show. That's just watching the show.
But I'll give you that.
What's that? Well, hold on before you go to the next. What's that song that he sings? Though?
Leaves from the Vine.
Leaves from the Vine, and then he does the whole shrine for his son by the tree. Tears. I'm still getting tears watching it to this day.
But it kind of shows you, that episode alone shows you necessarily why Iroh is so important in the development of Zuko, because we talk about in our previous episodes as well, these are kids. Zuko is a teenager at this point.
He's 13, 14.
13 or 14. And as a kid, I know from my perspective growing up, it's like you seek this relentless acceptance of a father's view. And seeing that Zuko could never be what his father wanted him to be, after being embarrassed by speaking up in front of the other generals and stuff, and he was obviously banished to go with Iroh. I think that Iroh was better off with him than he was better off at the Fire Nation with Fire Lord Ozai, because obviously his mother loved him, and so it wasn't. I don't think it necessarily was a case of his mother not loving him, because it's
Zuko.
Yeah.
No, his mother definitely loved him.
Yeah,
she left to protect him.
But it's more so when I say that is like it kind of speaks on his character development, because as kids, boys are obviously the mama's boys, so we kind of fall to
Wash has her own thoughts on Zuko. I'm curious to
we'll get into this later.
I mean, we're talking about it right now. We already talking about it right now. We might as well go ahead. Yeah, I think that'll be a good back and forth right now. Let's hear your thoughts on Zuko.
I think Zuko is a spoiled brat. I do. I think he's...
You're on the island.
No, he's overly self-absorbed, okay? I understand being in a position where you feel like you have disappointed someone that you are chasing validation from.
Right.
But the way in which he went about it, especially a person in his position of power, to me is unacceptable.
Okay.
It's unacceptable. I will say Iroh was very influential because he's like the embodiment of patience.
Yeah,
because who could actually?
Well, it's a reason why Iroh got to that point, and there was a reason why Zuko, his character was the way it was in book 1 of Avatar.
I feel like his privilege overshadows any growth.
I mean, he comes from privilege, but he didn't have any privilege, though.
But he does, though. Even in saying that he does not have privilege just because he disappointed his father, the access to resources, even the redemption arc he went on for himself, he has privilege.
I like how you just keep saying, like, he's chasing validation from someone and not his father that was abusive, that beat his mom and possibly did some other things to his mom, and then took his mom away, his only support system.
But I think it also boils down to, you look at the other family members like Azula and them. Obviously, they grew up training together. So to think of it as his son, he chooses Azula over him, because Azula has basically no mercy. Like, she shows no mercy, she shows no empathy, she shows no compassion, she shows nothing. She's just the perfect soldier, so you would want to put it. But I don't think that. Damn near borderline. But I don't think essentially that. No, not borderline. Full on. I'm sorry, full on. But I don't think it. I don't think it.
No, she's not.
I don't think it makes him more so. What am I trying to say? I don't think it makes him like privileged, because, in a sense, like it's like any other boy or growing up, obviously, like I said, you seek your father's love and approval before anything. And it plays into his story more than anything, because you see him get cast out. Obviously, he speaks up, which obviously proves that he's not privileged, because he speaks up. He's the prince. So he's next in line. He speaks up and tells his father that, he thinks what he thinks obviously should happen in a terms of a battlefield plan that they were making. So you obviously see that he's not privileged, because he was lashed out, and who the hell in their right mind is going to make you battle your son?
I think that does show that he has privilege. The fact that he was able to speak out on war plans,
even being in a room.
But no, because it's not so much privilege, because he was speaking up, but no one else was allowed to speak up. Now I can understand. Now even generals, but so that's why I say, like, I don't think he was necessarily privileged, because he felt that those men were going to die, and they were going to die. So he was seeing as the prince, he's seeing, why are we sacrificing, these men and they know they're going to die. So obviously he didn't feel necessarily approval of that. But
which just
I disagree.
Shows his character.
I disagree, man. I disagree. Now,
because he comes full circle. He comes full circle.
I will say you have a point.
He comes full circle, though.
Ozai picking Azula over Zuko, but I think that is the fact that for what Fire Lord Ozai wanted in like his lineage, like Azula reflects that perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Because
she's batshit crazy.
No, because to him, leadership is cruelty. Leadership is dominance. Is basically colonialism. Yeah, that's leadership. That's how he looks at it, right? So I think it's that. But Zuko, we cannot downplay the fact that he is privileged.
Okay,
and for him, Nope. And again, like, you sit here, you have access to resources, training. You have Iroh as your personal mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that most individuals would not have access to.
But that's why he becomes who he is.
Let me make this point right quick, though.
And along with the fact
Okay.
that I do feel like he has a sense of delayed accountability.
He took full accountability.
Later.
Though.
It's too late, bruh.
He's 14.
I ain't got no sympathy.
He's
I ain't
I don't
12.
think. I mean, I think he, obviously, because it's the biggest message here is he's seeking, in my opinion, he's seeking his father's approval, because he feels like if he can catch the Avatar, that he can be brought back to redemption with his father. That's the biggest thing, is like you see a redemption arc, because he feels, as he starts to feel that if he does this, and even in later episodes, obviously, I think when Iroh and Zuko were in Ba Sing Se, he goes off and becomes the little assassin, the sword dude. I can't.
Yeah, blue.
But yeah,
blue something.
Yeah,
the blue demon or whatever.
the blue demon. Yeah.
Yeah. What does his father's approval? What would that mean? What would be the outcome of that? I know you guys are looking at me.
I mean,
crazy.
he's trying to
just spell it out for me, real quick.
Essentially, I think that he's trying to get obviously back to where he was.
Do you feel like, because again,
He wants the throne.
This is the conflict.
As a kid.
This is the conflict that I have, right? When you say searching for his father's approval, right?
Yeah.
You see, even in his childhood, his father wasn't loving. There was a coldness about him.
But that's most. That's why it's relatable to most kids who are like boys, because it's.
You relate to this, Amante?
I mean,
but I think the most important factor that both of y'all missing though is his mom was his support system, and then they took his mom away, and he was left with two manipulative people. His father being Ozai,
and then
his sister.
Yeah.
She had traits of being manipulative at a young age. You see how she talked about her uncle when he found out that his son died?
Yeah, she was dogging
Iroh. She was
Iroh.
manipulating Zuko from a young age, and then his father was too. His father showed abusive traits when he talked to his wife, like, "You're cut off from your family. You can't talk to your family. You belong to me. You belong to the Fire Nation." He was left with these two people.
I understand that. But to sit here and to say he was chasing validation from this manipulative, abusive individual who took away the only support system that he had,
who he was
why would you
by.
chase validation for somebody where there's still no comfort? If you're looking for love, if you would have told me, okay, he's chasing this because he wants some semblance of comfort, of love, the support that he had with his mom, I could understand that. But his father just never was that.
I think he just had a warped idea of what duty, honor was.
But as kids, you don't see parents in the light of how they really are.
It wasn't. I don't think it was about him seeking validation. It's the Fire Nation. You know what I'm saying? Like they had this colonialism, like you was talking about. So they grew up thinking that their culture was the best, and their whole reason for going to war and to bring everybody else under their banner was they were sharing their culture. So he comes up under this culture, and he believes what he's doing is what he's supposed to do out of honor and due to respect of being the prince, future Fire Lord of the Fire Nation. I don't think it was about seeking validation or love from his father. I think it was about duty and respect, and that's what Iroh was teaching him. Like, you're chasing something that was placed upon you. Who are you really? Who do you want to be?
Oh, that's a good point.
And that's one of the things that I jotted as well, that his identity, obviously finding who he is, because obviously, and this is just the way I see it, it's like you're not necessarily seeking approval for being his son. It's like he's seeking the approval to try to be back into where he was. To be back into the Fire Nation.
He was
because,
exiled, essentially, trying to look for the Avatar.
So I think essentially he knew, like, as the story kind of progresses and evolves, I think he starts to see from being with Iroh, because hearing the stories that he heard from Azula, and then obviously from other people from the Fire Nation, because people don't realize that Iroh was also kind of expelled. Like, Iroh never really went.
A joke.
He never really went back to the Fire Nation, because he was just always out. He was a joke to them because he kind of lost his flame, as they say.
He was grieving his son.
He was grieving his son, but to them that's weakness, because in the Fire Nation you were not allowed to be weak or appear as weak. Because even then, when you saw, I'm trying to think I mean, basically when he was ousted, when he was grieving his son.
Yeah, even Azula touched on that when she was a kid. She was like, he's coming back crying.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
Because for them,
Like,
because for them,
G6.
Shorty, you 8.
Yeah.
Chill out, please.
because for them, it's like it's weakness, and that's what it kind of goes along with the symbolic of fire, is it's like strength, obviously.
Again, we'll all just have to agree to disagree.
Oh, of course.
That's a good point though. Like in the beginning, you think that firebending is a symbol of power. Like burning everything, like
destruction.
It's more so instability.
Zuko changed that at the end, though.
Yeah, when him and Aang went to the dragons. Yeah,
he changed that. It's like a light bearer at that point.
But he was also losing his bending ability before that because he no longer had hate to channel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I'm not
saying he got
saying
sick because of that. Like he was real life sick in bed. Like I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to downplay any character development they do in the Avatar because I do feel like it's the best to ever do it.
Yeah,
Zuko is just
low key the best character in the show.
Overrated.
Low key the best
He's
character
overrated,
in the show.
bro.
He had like the
and
best journey
and I'm tired of people giving him a pass because he had a traumatic childhood.
He was a child.
I don't give a damn.
All right, we'll leave it at that. We'll jump into. So we're already on the topic of character
might
development.
Lose friendships after this episode.
No, we can start. We can jump into obviously the other characters as well, since we're in this character development section.
I got one disagreement that I have with both of y'all off the bat, since we going into different characters.
What's up?
Mm-hmm.
When y'all say Sokka wasn't a bender, he definitely was a bender. Y'all just didn't see it. He was a heart bender.
Get out.
I'm gonna keep it PG.
Get out, bro.
He had the Riz. He had the Riz.
He was
okay.
That was
Okay.
his power. He was
I can be on board with that. But honestly, I think we should just jump down the list. We'll start with Aang, work our way down to Toph since we've already covered Zuko.
Watch how you feel about Aang.
So, I think
let Crunk go.
I think for me, it's just like it's symbolized. Like obviously, it just symbolizes for me his throughout the story his freedom, obviously the avoidance of conflict, and then learning his responsibility. Yeah. Because you're 12. You really don't want to fight all the time. So I think as we see throughout the story, like there's a bit of a more so like a diplomatic approach to a lot of the battles that he's trying to fight, because he's 12. He doesn't want to fight if he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
But I think as a kid, he was 12 and now he wakes up 100 years later and he has this insane amount of responsibility now. Mm-hmm. Being the Avatar. So it's like, obviously you don't have, like, he was a kid, so he was playing all the time. They were playing games, doing the little air ball, the little air scooters and stuff like that. So, and coming out now, it's like, dude, you're the Avatar. You have an insane amount of responsibility. So I think throughout the story, also we see him just struggling with that responsibility and that avoidance of conflict, because there was a lot of conflicts that he needed to handle, but he chose not to, or chose to run. So that's just where I feel with it. Even with his bending, you see that obviously as the Avatar, he had to learn the bending, but he struggled a lot with a lot of the other bending techniques because of his maturity. Yeah. So I'll let you guys speak on that as well.
I think he lives in this weird paradox of being a child and then being the savior.
Yeah. It's tough,
Yeah. It's
again, what is it with these people putting the responsibility of everything on 12-year-olds?
So yeah, I think throughout the story you kind of see him, like you said, maturity played a really big problem, and also like that what coincides with maturity, which I feel like they didn't necessarily touch on, but just the level of ignorance he had to the reality of the world. I think as a child,
that's true.
Yeah, as a child, you kind of look at things like, oh, well, good people do this and bad people do that, and as adults, we know that there's much more really in the gray area. So I just think for him, he was just ignorant to the reality of a lot of things. And so the way he approached it would be how he would perceive people should conduct themselves. Yeah. Not really realizing like, hey, good people do bad things, right? Or bad people can show up good, you know what I'm saying? Or there is a time to inflict violence and a time to show grace.
It also comes, yeah. It does. It does play a huge part too, because it also does come in effect of like him trusting people when he shouldn't have trusted people.
Yeah.
Like Jet.
You just tie that up to him being young. Man.
Yeah, but more so, yeah, kind of incorporating what Wash is saying, because when they have the whole storyline with Jet. Yeah. He's thinking that this dude's like a freedom fighter. He's fighting for the cause. Doing all this stuff, and then come to find out like this guy's like the worst of the worst.
That was like the worst plot line in the show.
Yeah. But I think it also played into just briefly touching on it. It also played into Sokka as well, because you see that overprotective. Yeah. This was before obviously the his girlfriend turned into the moon. Yeah, the Riz bending.
Yeah, the Riz bending.
But, all in all, I do want to say that Aang does, a lot of the story is about him finding himself. You know what I mean? And finding what it means to be the Avatar as an airbender, as, again, how he would like to present himself and not others' opinions. Because at 12, there was a lot of influences.
People were telling him, like, oh, you're the airbender. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. But I agree that is a very good point, because he had to make himself, like he had to learn himself and find what he stands for as the Avatar. Yeah. Because even in the Avatar state, they kind of push on that, like you need to find who you are first before you can conquer anything else.
He was dealing with a lot though. Like what was it, 100 years he was frozen.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. The world's completely different. He has a lot of regret, because I don't know if you guys remember, he ran away.
Yeah, he did.
His responsibilities.
Yeah. From the Air Nomad tribe.
Air Nomads, and then what I'm saying, when he woke up, they're all gone. The Air Nomads is gone. There's no more Airbenders or whatever. So he was dealing with regret at first. He had to get over regret, and then the next thing that he had to tackle was like controlling his emotions. Like him losing control was a big theme that was in the show. Like every time he get into the Avatar state, you know what I'm saying, when his emotions wasn't in check. Like when they tried to steal Appa.
Yeah,
like he went crazy.
Yeah, bro, bro went Avatar state.
He turned into Vegeta real fast. Like you sold Appa. Yeah. So like he was dealing with that, and then like when everybody, like towards the end, where everybody wanted him to kill Ozai. Everybody wanted him to kill Ozai. Yeah. Ozai's son was like, "You can kill my dad. He ain't shit for real."
But he chose. Yeah, and
but he made his own path at 12 years old. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's good.
So he had a really good character development as well.
Now I think his arc is obviously I think we kind of touched on this the other day, talking about it, and I think it would be cool to see like them do an arc on like all the previous Airbenders or Avatars. So I think it would be cool, because that would help also paint the picture as to who they were in the Avatar state.
Who would you like to see? I think I would just want to see Kyoshi's.
100%.
Yeah, I just want to see hers.
She cold.
She created a whole warrior class of women.
Yeah.
Because of what she was doing.
Which I think there's obviously, I think they should pick one bender from every element. Yeah. And I think even Roku would be cool to see.
We kind of seen his though.
I seen it. Saw it, but
I've seen it.
I
seen it. But if anything, they could go in deeper about him and his twin or whatever.
I mean, he was still pretty powerful. Like
he was, but he ain't do nothing with it though. He lost himself to his personal biases, and again, that's the human element that they show with the Avatar. But Big Dog, because of your failure,
we extra hard on him because he didn't stop the Fire Nation from doing what they was.
That was his responsibility.
That was his responsibility.
It was his responsibility.
Like, come on, that's your. Honestly, he was made the Avatar during that time frame. I feel like to stop that. And he pretty much threw the world into turmoil because he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
I forgot the reason. What was the reason why he just dipped though? Was it because he lost his wife or something like that?
I think it was because of the because he couldn't stop it. Like I could be wrong, but I think it was because he couldn't stop it. So the Fire Nation. Yeah. So
was that the original Sozan's comment? Like he tried to fight him. The original Sozan's comment.
So,
but he still could have stopped him though. He chose not to stop him though.
Jumping into Katara, what do you guys think? I'll let you guys start off on Katara and her development that you guys liked throughout the show.
Let me tell you, Katara
Cold.
and Azula are both up there for me. Mm-hmm. Actually, Toph. All the female characters of Avatar.
Toph is the coldest. I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie.
Toph definitely my number one. Azula will be my second. Katara will be my third. Katara, to me, I really started gaining more respect for her when she found out how to blood bend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you just go. I don't want to cut you off.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but I would say like I liked her development overall. She was super empathetic. She was very much so like a strong moral compass. Very much so stood on her convictions, and overall, I also liked the compassion she had for the people around her.
Yeah.
You kind of see her being that voice of empathy. So that's what I can really say about Katara. Also about her healing abilities. You kind of see her adapting and like making her own path without any type of guidance. And I think that's a theme.
Well, she was natural, yeah.
She had a little bit of guidance, but it wasn't enough to impact her though.
Yeah, so.
But I will say though, that The Last Airbender is probably the best show to display female characters though.
Yeah.
Because all of their characters were good. Mai, Ty Lee, they all were like.
They all had a crazy purpose.
And you don't really see that with other shows though.
No.
Like the women kind of play the background in other shows.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because even when you saw, like, who was it, Ty Lee? Like, she's just doing, like, the acupuncture, the pressure point stuff.
Yeah, she was a circus.
You know, she basically, like, take your bending away.
Yeah.
Like, not permanently, but, you know, she disable you. It's like, dude, that's crazy.
She was cold. She was cold in the world of Benders. But I would say Katara is probably my favorite female character out of the show. Even over your precious Azula. Even over Toph.
I think.
Because Katara, she was, like, so much more mature. She had her emotions in check. Even when she went to go face her mother's killer, she chose to spare him at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like when
couldn't be me.
That wouldn't be me either though, especially at like 13 or 14 or whatever. And then she learned how to blood bend. When she learned how to blood bend, it was just she was the coldest person in the show after that.
Because blood bending?
Yeah, that's OP. Like,
that's different, man.
She could stop. And then the scene that lives rent free in everybody's head when she was fighting Azula, and then she pulled the water up and then just slowly got up out of that jam and locked her up. That was cold.
Nah, she definitely came out of her bag, especially like later in the season. You saw her definitely do some crazy stuff.
And you forget how much of what she does as far as bending, she's self-taught. And I think for everybody else,
based off the scrolls.
Yeah, for everybody else to have masters, she's really in there studying. Like, okay, let me, you know.
She did learn briefly from the guy from the northern tribe.
Yeah,
who ended up being in the White Lotus or whatever. But even then, she had to stand up to him because he didn't want to teach her. He was like, "You're a woman. Get up, come on, go in the kitchen or something."
That correlates with what we talked about Sokka, because that was the water tribe mentality. You know that the men fight and you know the women are the healers. So it's kind of like it was kind of breaking that boundary for her. She really broke a huge boundary because she was the first woman to fight and also be a healer. So it was huge for them because they couldn't break past that. So she was breaking barriers that hadn't been broken ever.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to be difficult for them to kind of accept that because she was out there. She was out there belt to ass, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
she
was
was
belt to ass, bro. Like I'm telling you, like when she had to fight.
Yeah.
And she fought. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
she was,
for a minute it was just her and Aang going crazy with the hands on anybody that ran up until they got tough.
And we don't give her credit for teaching Aang water bending.
No, she was his master. She was
in the
his
beginning,
master.
And her not even being fully developed herself.
Yeah.
So that's why I said like even the blood bending, bro. That's like my favorite episode.
Yeah.
Not even gonna
Puppet Master episode.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. Like I think like the biggest thing for her is like it coincides like and that's the thing, like we didn't cover any of this before. Is like all of these the elements coincide with each individual character. And it's like it's so perfectly placed because you know you have like her with water, obviously she's compassionate, she's healing, and then obviously she's has that bit of struggle, it's like the tide, you push and pull between that the rage and the empathy or mercy. So it's like I think she's one of my favorite characters because because she balanced that mercy and rage perfectly. Even when she's battling her mother's killer, she was in that spit of rage, but she chose to be merciful towards him and spare his life. So
they was about to do that boy dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, you also see that in her relationship with Zuko in the beginning when Zuko comes back.
Yeah, she wasn't having that.
She was like, she walked down on him. Hey, if you mess up, just know you're gonna get got.
And she could have though.
Yeah,
she could have absolutely did it.
So
she could have absolutely did it. But to make your point though, Kronk, with the water being perfect for her, because like to quote Bruce Lee, what is it like? Be formless or shapeless?
Shapeless like
water. That was her. Like she was just going with the flow in any situation that they was in. Even when Sokka had like crazy plans or whatever, and they didn't work. She was just like right there to just go with the flow.
And
so
I think
it fit her perfectly.
I think that coincides with the more of the Water Nation itself, because the Water Nation, even in battle, when you saw the Firebenders invading, what is it, the Northern Water Tribe?
Yeah.
They had basically every plan foiled, and they were still holding them off to some rightful respect with all the machinery and all the equipment and all the advanced weaponry that they had. The waterbenders were still holding them off because they had that ability to improvise, to be formless and just adapt to whatever was coming.
And they had home field advantage too.
They did have home field advantage, which I mean, to be honest with you, in that rank, I feel like it doesn't really matter because fire melts water, so they were kind of screwed at that rate, but. Yeah. But in every sense, like you see Ba Sing Se, when Ba Sing Se was invaded by the Fire Nation, they didn't have such a great advantage because even the machinery, everything was calculated with the Fire Nation, and that's what the nations didn't. They underestimated them severely.
Well, I think also, which we can touch on this a little bit later in the episode, but the Fire Nation, what kind of allowed them to do that was their focus on industrialization.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they put a lot of their emphasis behind machinery.
Yeah.
Like,
evolution.
Whereas most of the other nations,
they were dormant.
Yeah, and they viewed bending was like a spiritual practice. It wasn't something that they used to dominate. So they didn't necessarily weaponize it in the same way the Fire Nation did.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that.
Bending I think and it kind of coincides with everything. Everything coincides with the elements here because it goes against like the martial arts behind it.
Yeah,
it was very sacred to them because it's like it's their form, it's who they are. Like it's instilled in their blood, it's instilled in their tribe of like we're earthbenders or we're airbenders or we're firebenders or we're this. It's like but the Fire Nation, they obviously lost that touch with their spiritual aspect, which is why they start to mechanize and go further into the elements of like fighting, which led to their relentless pursuit of every nation at that point, because all the other nations, they chose not to evolve because they chose spirituality over ruthlessness.
Well, they just didn't have a colonial mindset either, though.
But I don't think, in a sense, like they didn't have beef like the Fire Nation had. So
the Fire Nation didn't have beef either. They just was on some. We have the best culture. We're gonna share it with the rest of the world. Yeah.
But that's why I say like if they didn't have a need to mechanize, then obviously each village or each tribe was connected spiritually for a reason, because they weren't fighting at that rate. So, in my opinion, I mean like if you have no reason to fight, obviously it's you don't really want to mechanize, you don't really want to evolve, you don't really want to do anything. You just want to live in harmony. And obviously, like you want to fight, like they can bend. Obviously, like they know what they're doing. But it really comes down to that martial arts style. That's why you saw in a lot of the fights, I feel, for the Fire Nation, they didn't have that capability to defend themselves when it came down to bending, because they relied so much on the mechanisms and the weapons that were improvised for them. They didn't have that ability to bend, other than the fact of them bending to make the fireballs for the catapults or fireballs for any other weapon.
I feel like firebending is just like an offensive thing too, though.
Well, I mean, I just feel like bending really in its origin was like a connection to nature as well. Yeah. Connection to spirituality.
And that's what I mean. They lost it.
When you take that element out of it,
I
think it does hamper you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I think we kind of already know everyone's opinion about Sokka, but we're gonna dive into Sokka. My biggest thing for him is like we all agreed on is his strategy and logic. Like this dude was a master battle planner. Like he was very logical and calculated in every maneuver, everything that they did, even trying to keep Aang on track.
Yeah,
I think you obviously saw like his resilience without the bending, because it was a relentless pursuit for him. He needed to be better. He needed to be stronger. He needed to do these things because obviously he had to defend himself with pure grit and just pure strength. So I think it was even impressive to me to see him keeping up with a lot of the benders, because He's smart, dude. Like, dude's legit smart. Yeah.
Like you said though, like Sokka was relentless.
Yeah.
If it didn't work one way, he was
gonna get it. Yeah.
He was gonna find a way to do it. He was quick on his feet.
No.
And the thing that, again,
his critical thinking was insane.
His leadership abilities, he doesn't get enough credit for. His ability to delegate and pivot, it then, okay, well, how can I fit into that? I think it was masterful.
And I think that kind of ties into when we see him earlier before them discovering Aang.
Yeah.
Him trying to teach the kids. And I think that leadership, that's something you can't just put into someone. It's instilled in them.
Well, it was it was the responsibility that was left upon him too. When his father left, he was like, "Hey, you're the man of the village now."
But see,
he took that to heart.
That's that leadership, stepping up, because nobody else wanted to step up. And again, the village needed someone who could train them to defend themselves. Because at that point, they felt they were out of touch from the Fire Nation, but they weren't. They knew they weren't. Even though they felt it, they're just constantly preparing. Like today could be the day, or tomorrow could be the day, or 10 years from now could be the day. So they were, obviously someone needed to train those kids, because even then, those next kids were gonna, someone was gonna train those people.
Yeah, he did step up to the responsibility, but that just go back to the earlier things that we was talking about, where they were just putting all these responsibilities on kids. Like you see it constantly being played out over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But for me, Sokka, he was
Bender.
He was the one that kind of kept Team Avatar together. He was like the big brother for everybody. Even when Toph was like getting out of line, he'd like kind of check her a little bit.
Nah, bro. Katara was the one checking Toph.
Yeah, they were definitely beefing at first.
Sokka was definitely like on top ass a little bit though. But you're right though, because she was like her and Sokka was like.
I think it was a little jealousy though.
Nah, because you gotta look in the Firebender season. I think it was season 3, right, when Aang goes to the Fire Nation.
Lived in the Fire Nation.
Aang and Toph, and I think Sokka may have been involved, was pulling that little gambling scheme.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Katara was the one that got them together.
Okay, no, you're right. I'll give you that as far as keeping Team Avatar together. But what I was trying to say with Sokka is that he was the one that was like putting the plans together, like you said, like giving everybody their role. Like I need you here. I need you to do this. I need you to do this. Even when his father came back around and they had that failed mission when they went to the fire, I forgot what they was trying to do. I think they was trying to do that sneak attack thing on Ozai or whatever. I think
they were trying to ambush him.
They was trying to ambush him and it didn't work out. And his father just like kind of put it back in him like, hey, you're in charge. Like, this is what I need you to do. You got to have this confidence in yourself. And he stepped up to the plate because my man was out there with a boomerang. You know what I'm saying? Everybody out here bending earth, bending fire, and he got a boomerang out here.
Yeah.
So, his confidence, he had to have amazing confidence to be out there with a boomerang.
Not just that, but intellect. I think he had great foresight. And I think he trusted in the abilities of the people around him. Yeah.
I'm anxious to see how they do Sokka as an adult, because that movie's coming out with all of them as adults. I want to see a more serious Sokka in his leadership role, or at least be nice with the sword that he inherited.
Sokka just gonna be Rizzy, bro.
He
come out as a adult. He's gonna be married with
kids.
It's
no different than than the Avatar series that we saw on Netflix. When they went and I think we, obviously jumping into Toph now because she's the only one left. I mean, she's the one, bro. Like she's the strongest. I think in a grand scheme of things, she's the strongest of all the benders in this.
Team Avatar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she learned metal bending before.
Hold on, Crunk. Money, you disagree with that?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that.
Who you think the strongest?
In Team Avatar?
Yeah.
It's Aang, 100%.
Get out, man. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, Aang obviously because he's the Avatar.
And then it's Katara.
But even then.
If Katara wanted to do the blood bending on top, what's she going to do? Stomp on the ground? Come on, let's get up out of here, bro. Get up out of here. Give her lockjaw on the feet. Give her arthritis or something. Give her pain in the feet. She's done.
I mean, but... But
Toph is like that though. I don't want y'all to take it when I'm saying like I don't like Toph. She's definitely like that. But it's Aang, Katara, then Toph.
It's Toph for me.
I don't have to disagree with you on that because correct me if I'm wrong, but Katara couldn't bloodbend. Initially, at first, she could not bloodbend unless the full moon was out.
I believe so, yeah.
Toph could metal bend.
Yeah. They had to nerf my girl Katara.
No, no, because and it goes into the obviously Legend of Korra. They kind of touched on that, like they learned how to bend without the moon. But I mean, hey, Toph metal bended.
But there was
with
a lady,
no education, no nothing. She just
was just going crazy in that.
Yeah, bro. Like
metal,
I mean, you can't
metal box.
You can't compete with that. Like,
but they had a blood bender that she could just blood bend though. She didn't need the full moon.
And they also had it in Legend of Korra as well. Yeah.
I mean, it might have probably some evolution. You know what I mean? Once you discover something, you kind of figure out the.
They just had to nerf Katara. That's it. They had to nerf Katara because if they didn't nerf Katara, the whole like 3rd and 4th season is over with. Like,
Toph
there's no
is
problems.
the strongest by far. Toph is the strongest. I love Toph. She's witty. She's authentic. You know what I'm saying?
I like Toph.
She's super independent sometimes to a fault. But overall, just her abilities alone, she's the coldest.
She let Appa get stolen.
She can't see, bro.
She see everything else.
I mean, and it's all good for me. It all goes back to that one main point that I made earlier. Like all the elements fit each character so flawlessly, because Toph, obviously being an earthbender, she's blind.
Yeah,
and I mean, like she's like real life Daredevil. But without the sonar, like, or whatever Daredevil was using. But, she could see based on, like, see and feel based on the ground.
And that goes into that episode, I think it's Lover's Cave.
Yep.
Where you kind of learn the origins of earthbending.
Yep.
I think it was the moles.
The moles, yeah.
Yeah. So.
I think she just, like, I agree with you. For me, she's just the definition of truth, strength, independence, and obviously the grounding. Because for her, like... even with her being on Appa, she hated it. Like because she can't see anything.
Yeah.
So I think for her, it's like I used to refer to myself as an earthbender for the longest time because I hated flying. I hated being off the ground. Like I love like feet on the ground. It's the best feeling in the world for me. But I think it's like a different feeling. So I feel kind of you kind of can feel and resonate with her because it's like taking her eyes away. She can kind of do her own thing on the ground, but it's like
Toph is cool. I just don't feel like she really had no character development in the show.
All right, get up
she got stronger, but she didn't have no character development in the show.
What? All the time, all the little things she got into it with Sokka and Katara, you see her maturing. I think Toph's major challenge was she was stubborn.
Not being so independent.
But I think she was so used to being an individual and independent as well because
she had to adapt.
She had to like kind of slowly.
Well then she had the weakest character.
And that represents earthbending. Like that coincides with.
You just don't.
She wasn't grounded at all. Like she was legit an airhead. No, I'm joking. Wow. I'm joking. Strike that one out. Take that one out. I just had to cook for a second. She's cool, but she just had the weakest character development out of the team though.
We just gonna pivot from that. Because I just feel like there's no response.
Yeah, right? I feel like
she just got stronger. Like she learned how to metal bend.
Let's just jump into the Avatar state because we ain't gonna get nowhere on this. So let's talk about the Avatar state and the symbolism.
We ain't talking about the villains now. But
the villains. Oh
I forget we missed. Briefly touch on the villains.
Let's hear your love letter to Azula.
Hey, listen, it's long. It's long.
We got time. Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I think also if we want to talk about character development, we have to talk about how the show had a very nuanced depiction of villains. I think they did this balance where they humanized a lot of the villains that allowed you to kind of see both sides and how they got
most of the villains.
Most of them.
Yeah.
We already talked about
the coolest ones.
Except Azula.
No, Azula, she got humanized.
Man, she did.
She was towards the end, but she spent her whole life being a menace, bro.
But you see most of it though, like throughout the seasons, where her like she was, I feel like was trying to seek her mother's approval at some points. She didn't feel like her mother loved her. She questioned it.
I think her and Zuko were kind of flip flopped.
Yeah.
Like Zuko wanted his father's approval, and she wanted her mother's approval.
I don't hate Azula. I actually think she had a traumatized childhood just like her brother.
Yeah.
But I think it also made her the way she was.
Yeah.
I think what I'm saying. You just see Azula, and she just, in my opinion, she is just perfection perfection.
I think she's the only
In the
redeemable.
bending, yes.
She's the only redeemable
far
villain
as,
in the show.
Yeah, far as like, you know what I'm saying, she knew what her father demanded.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
just embodied that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that also pushed her mother away, you know? And I think she couldn't understand that as a child.
I don't think it pushed her mother away. I don't think her mother was ever connected to that Fire Nation, like, train of thought.
Well, you know, Zuko isn't Fire Lord Ozai's son.
What?
Yeah, he's not.
He's not.
Did I miss that part of the show?
Yeah,
Azula is
Yeah.
Ozai's daughter, blood
Right.
daughter.
Okay.
And so I do think because Azula is a reflection of Ozai, that aspect in the traumatic relationship that their mother had with him also pushed her away from
So
Azula.
who was Zuko's father then? When was this revealed in the show?
I think
Is that the continuation of comics or whatever?
No.
After?
I think they touched on it in what was it, Legend of Korra, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My
Okay.
fault, bro.
Nah, yeah, it just messed me up. I ain't gonna lie. Like, my
But-
whole existence is a lie right now. I ain't
But
gonna lie.
I just feel like her breakdown at the end, you kind of just see all of those elements coming to the top.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How she's kind of been forced to live in isolation because like that ruthlessness
Yeah.
that her father has instilled in her and what the Fire Nation she thinks demands of her
Mm-hmm.
has created this environment of isolation.
Yeah, it did.
And you kind of see her in the end reaching out. You know what I'm saying? Trying to reclaim herself.
She was also just a shitty person too, though. That isolation, she kind of created herself because she didn't know when to stop
You get under her
manipulating
skin
people.
now, man.
Yeah.
I'm just saying though,
Get
like,
under her skin
I
now.
got an example
You
for
did
you.
all of this love for Zuko, but now it comes to Azula, you don't understand.
I did say she was traumatized as a kid though, because she was
Okay.
indoctrinated by the Fire Nation.
Okay.
But a lot of that stuff she chose to do though. For example,
Yeah.
not showing empathy for her uncle after he just lost his son, her cousin. I give you another example. Ty Lee and what was the girl named Mai?
Yeah.
Those are her best friends. They came on a mission with her to do whatever she wanted.
She really didn't care what happened
She
to
didn't
them.
care what happened with either one of them. Ty Lee was getting attention from like some dudes or whatever, and then you see her like, yeah, they don't really like you for you. You don't even got an identity. Like, why would you even get on there with your friend? Just on some humbug type
Yeah,
stuff.
right. Just out of nowhere, bro.
is redeemable, but Azula isn't.
I did say that Azula
I-
is the only redeemable villain in the show. I
He
said
did
that.
say that. He did say that.
I did say
He
that
did
though.
say
I'm
that.
just saying that she just had shitty character too though.
I mean, yeah, she had her ways about her.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes into the character arc because I mean you see her evolve and she after she gets humbled, you know, you see her evolve into, you know, something that's
No, she just
halfway.
go
Well,
shit crazy
yeah.
at the end.
Uh-huh.
She was talking to her mama in the mirror like, "Where are you?
yeah.
You sent them here. Like, I don't even know your mom. What are you talking
Ah.
about?"
But I think Azula for me was like you know, she is like in essence the like seeking perfection because even her bending techniques was all perfect. Like
Yeah.
everything was about perfection. And that's why she was able to wield to bend the blue flame as long as she could, like flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And even bending lightning. Like lightning bending was like the purest form of fire bending, and she was able to bend lightning before any person. I think they touched on that in the beginning, like when she was doing her training. Like she was lightning bending as like a little kid. So you know, obviously growing up, it just kind of goes into where you're saying like she was just on another level. Like I'll agree with you on that. She was on another level, but I think she went batshit crazy at the end.
Yeah, for sure. I think outside of
I think
Zuko,
do you think maybe she went batshit crazy because she thought, you know, she finally saw herself as a failure?
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
that's a
That's
good
a
point.
good fucking question.
Yeah,
No, I don't think that's why she went batshit crazy.
Because
I do, actually.
it kind of toppled her because, you know, she had this immense pressure
yeah.
to be, you know, to obviously catch Zuko, catch the Avatar, catch everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like what we saw with Zuko, but 10 times fold because, you know, she had the approval from Ozai.
Yeah.
So if Ozai saw like his greatest like peer or trainee fail, like imagine like
But
just the mental aspect.
What do you
of
think
that.
she failed at though? Because Ozai made her the Fire Lord.
Ozai did make her the Fire Lord, but I think she failed in terms of because she never completed the mission. Ozai just made her Fire
She
Lord.
didn't, but she was the one who put Ozai up on game of they plan Or the Sozin's comment. She was the reason. She did all that. She was the one who stopped the ambush when they tried to get Ozai the
But at
first
the
time.
end of the day, she still didn't capture the Avatar.
She didn't capture the Avatar.
Nor Zuko like she was supposed
That
to.
was her main. Like
That
all the
was-
other stuff was a side
Y'all
quest.
trying to get her out. That's not the reason why she
Nah.
went crazy.
No,
She was
I
just
just-
crazy.
I just
I
asked-
feel like actually that's a good ass question,
Look at you.
Crunk.
Look at
Like-
You know what I mean? And I think that would be the case. I think it would. You know what?
She just had developed. I'm not the person that can diagnose people with these.
So don't even
So
start.
let me slow it
You
down
said,
a
you know,
little
she
bit.
had stage 1
Yeah,
schizophrenia.
she had
Like, what, bro?
multiple personality disorder or something. But she did show that early on when you seen that she didn't have any like empathy for her. What's the word I'm looking for? Is it empathy?
Compassion or empathy?
Not
It's
empathy.
Sympathy.
Not sympathy. It's like with the A. Apathy.
Oh, apathy.
Apathy.
So
She
you're
had
calling
like
her a psychopath.
she was a psychopath.
But okay, so let's break it down like this then. I think part of that breakdown is the fact of having this immense amount of power, right? And it's not being balanced as well with any compassion, love, empathy, right? So I think she's an extension of Ozai in this, because Ozai, in my opinion, is just the face of absolute power.
Yeah.
Everything is about power, domination. And you see that ideology represented in Azula. So for me, when I see her break down, it's like you kind of see her lose control of that power as well.
Mm-hmm.
You see her when she fails, like how that impacts her. You see her how she's navigating that, the weight of that power. And I think she's just very unstable. And I think that corresponds as well even to her
Yeah.
bending.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she grew up
Because
in an
it
unstable
was-
environment too, though.
They did
Yeah.
say, and I think in the earlier episodes, they did state that, you know, firebending was unstable because, you know, they said, you know, essentially like they couldn't differentiate the fact from like how you could get from regular flame to blue then to lightning. It was all based on emotion. So
Yeah.
obviously, you know, when you're basing something off emotion, it's more so unstable than anything. It's a huge instability aspect. So I think I think like her in my aspect, and I'm sorry that question was a sidetrack, but it just popped into my head. I'm like, maybe that was like the lead
was
to
a
her
good point,
demise
though.
because you know, you brought up a lot of great stuff that she did, but she never did accomplish the main task,
Yeah.
which was to capture Zuko, Iroh, and the Avatar, and you know his
But
clique.
they did catch Iroh.
They did catch Iroh,
he
but
was locked
Iroh,
up. And then Zuko, he defected back to the Fire Nation for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he traded on them again. So that wasn't really her mess up, though.
no.
He came back to the Fire Nation. They had Iroh locked
But
up.
if she's, hear me out, right? If
her
she's his
emotional
greatest
state-
soldier, if she's his greatest soldier, and you can tell me that she can stop ambushes, she can stop all these other aspects and all these other
she took Ba
unpredictable.
Sensei's. Like she
Yeah.
was the one who took Ba Sensei.
But you can predict all these unpredictable things in terms of combat. But you couldn't tell me that you can't see that Zuko was going to defect. And you couldn't see the simple things. Like, again, that goes along the greater aspect of Fire Nation of, like, they literally have no control over a lot of things. It's like they accomplish one thing in the show, but then they get set back 20 times because they miss something so small, minuscule in the details. And that's just my opinion. Like, I feel like they did miss a lot of things in the show. In terms of like them going up against other nations, they missed a lot of small details, and that also caused them like yeah they did take Ba Sing-se. You are correct about that, but how long did it take them to take Ba Sing-se?
it was with a 3-man team. She ain't
Yeah.
even going that deep. It was her, May, and Ty Lee.
If I remember though,
No,
Ba
because they
Sensei
broke through the
actually
wall.
surrendered.
Yeah,
Ba
Ba Sing-se surrendered because they broke
king
through the
surrendered.
wall.
Yeah, that's because
He gave it to him though.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Wasn't the
taking
king
That's what I'm
corrupt?
saying.
The king was corrupt.
no, it
No.
was the Dai Li that was corrupt.
The Dai Li,
The king
okay,
was
yeah.
he was oblivious to what was going on. She took down the Dai Li and took over the special forces team that was.
Yeah.
She became the new Dai Li. That's how they took it. It was only her, Ty Lee, and Mai.
Yeah.
She was cold. To y'all point, she is cold. She's probably one of the coldest characters in the show, and I think she's the only redeemable villain.
Yeah, I just think towards the end, the instability of her bending was reflected in her emotional state.
Yeah,
And I think
Yeah.
it's just it kind of goes back to
Yeah,
that
that's
because you
true.
see that theme with all the characters.
yeah, that's true.
So-
They probably couldn't beat her if she was the same person earlier in the show. Like If she was that same person earlier in the show,
Yeah.
at the end, they wouldn't have beat her.
Now,
Absolutely.
I don't know, because
Yeah.
Katara was cold by the end of the show, but
I don't think so.
I don't think they would.
It would have took all of Team Avatar.
well, even
All
when
right,
you
slow
saw
your roll
them,
now.
even when you saw them fighting Azula,
Slow your roll now.
towards the end, like even when they did have skirmishes with Azula, like it took a good portion of them to fight Azula, and that was in the earlier aspects of like when they did first initially clash with her, because she was on another level, like, and it was clearly shown in the show. But I like the fact that they painted that, you know, as time went by and they were evading her, because she had that little, whatever the hell it was, that little anteater looking thing. And that thing, like,
I
bro,
forgot
that thing
about that.
detected them everywhere they went. So, you know, them flying under the radar, but as you see them and they catch up later through the show, they're on the same level.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a true character progression, because as Aang was not really where he needed to be to fight, because he ran through a lot of conflicts, so he didn't get the fighting skills that he needed. And then obviously he didn't really have a real teacher.
Yeah,
You know,
his fighting style was evasive. Like he was always.
but that's
trying to
also
avoid
that
conflict
also
mostly.
goes inside with the airbending
The air
technique,
nomad, yeah.
because air is more so a defensive technique than it is an offensive technique, because a lot of the techniques is like you're pushing away, you're, you know, kind of evading, you know, those types of things, as you
That's
saw
because
in
of
the
the
show.
air nomads, though. Like if you could use it for offense.
No,
for
you
sure.
can, yeah, but because of the martial arts style, it was a defensive tactic. Like,
Yeah.
I think truly, you know, every bending style was kind of offensive or defensive. Some were maybe both, but I think you kind of saw, like, I like that you kind of saw they progressed, while Azula really kind of plateaued, not in a bad way.
She just went crazy.
Yeah, not in a bad way. She was too. I feel like she was kind of like too powerful in the beginning of the show.
Oh, you think it was a writer's decision to make to kind of nerf her a little bit?
Well, I
don't
just
think she
you
nerfed. I think
you
she
don't
just
see her training anymore.
no. She
She's
just
just-
plateaued.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Every other character is constantly.
They were still training, yeah, but
Yeah.
she was always out. So I think that
That's
kind of
true.
It's like-
that kind of
That's a good
played on
point.
her.
Yeah, what else did she have
Yeah.
to learn? Because she was definitely top notch.
She was already there, yeah.
She was already there.
Well, that's why I
think-
say she plateaued,
Yeah.
because she's always out looking for Aang in them. So, you know, you don't really see her train. You see Aang training, you see even Zuko training.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, everyone's training but her. So it's like, even if you're already at the top of the game, you know, if you go and fight someone and they don't know as much, and then they come back, you know, 5 months later.
Yeah, I give Azula her credit though, because she's the only redeemable. Every other villain in the show is trash, bro. All of them deserve what they got, from General Zhang to Ozai. They always trash, bro.
Yeah.
Azula was the only character that has some depth to her.
Thank you.
I gave her her flowers in the beginning
I
though.
appreciate it.
Azula had a lot of depth.
Yeah.
I will agree with you.
Ozai, he you know, he deserved death, and they let that boy off the hook
Yeah.
a little bit.
I think.
But
They
that
were
it's a huge choice, you know.
Yeah, that is a very, very big choice, but it's kind of one of those things. Do you let him become a martyr, or do you let him suffer?
But I think in that
That's a good-
choice,
that's a good,
I think in
point.
that choice this is just me. I feel like Aang made the best choice in that sense, because when you think of the Fire Nation, like, their bending is everything. Like, it's who you are as a Fire Nation. Like, you know.
Yeah, that's
bender
true.
or
So that
firebender.
was like worse than death.
So like,
for him.
it's worse than death. You know,
Yeah.
it's literally what he did to him was essentially the worst thing he could have possibly did. Because
Castrated that
even if
boy.
you would have killed him, boom, someone else just comes and replaces him, and they could be 10 times worse.
That's a good point, though. Not making him a martyr, though. I ain't think about that.
That's
a
a
good
really
point.
big thing. You know what I'm saying? And even today, when powerful, you know, adversaries are killed, you
Yeah.
see that struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we actually provide a burial place, or do we dump them somewhere in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah, that's a
Call
good
it
point.
Dump them.
Because we don't want shrines. You know, that's the
Yeah.
thing. You don't
There
want
will,
shrines.
you know, it's a obsession factor.
Yeah.
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 That's
So
a good point, because Ozai and Zhang, though, they wasn't good at all, especially Zhang.
No.
Like,
Yeah, but kind of giving them death gives them.
but Zhang
room.
died, I think, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Ozai, that would give him room to still be celebrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes it seem like he died for the Fire Nation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As opposed to removing his bending, now you're just worthless. And and essentially, I think that's where you kind of come full circle, because you see as Zuko struggled with the bending in the beginning of the series,
Yeah.
now you kind of come full circle, because now the same things that Ozai criticized Zuko for was now happening to him, because he could not bend. So he was truly like lost.
But he was gonna kill Zuko when he was a baby because he thought he couldn't bend.
Yeah.
So throw him off the roof or something. I can't remember exactly, like off the balcony or something.
Fucking Lion King.
No, seriously.
It's also
yeah,
his
Tulsa.
son.
Yeah,
Huh?
but
And
that's I don't think it was because of the bending. I think it was because that was not his son.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that
And-
at that point.
And that's an element of why he was so cold. I feel
Towards
like,
Zuko.
To Zuko.
Yeah.
I mean that could be a point too. But how would you explain how he treated his mother though?
But that
Because he treated the mother like that as soon as they got married.
But that could also be the same thing because I think Zuko came before.
No, Azula's older.
Yeah, no, you're right. Azula,
Yeah.
No, Azula is older. Yeah,
Yeah.
Azula is?
Yeah, she's the older
because
sister.
Azula was already. I think she was already bigger than Zuko at that point. When Zuko was,
Yeah, she's older.
I think it's maybe like a year or two.
I just think
I don't
that
think it was that much.
How you feel about Zuko? I think Ozai deserve all that smoke.
Of course.
How you describe
but
Zuko as
Ozai
who Ozai is?
Ozai is the villain, though. I
Yeah.
have no grace for him.
Yeah.
Ozai is about power just to have power.
Yeah, he's
That's
he's like a modern day dictator.
Well, they got
You
their
know.
manifesto
Worse.
that's going
Yeah.
on though. I don't think he was just doing it just to do it. He was indoctrinated too.
No.
Like they got their manifest destiny doctrine somewhere where they got to spread the Fire Nation principles to the whole world.
Yeah, but as a Fire Lord, you have access to information that the general public wouldn't. He would know that the guise in which they are colonizing the rest of the world is in fact fake. So I just feel like, again, he's just absolute power.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
And
I
he
can agree.
doesn't deviate from that.
He doesn't though.
And that's in every aspect.
But I just think that was a conqueror's mindset that he was
It's like a
bestowed
that
upon
Genghis
him
Khan
since he was,
mindset. You know?
since he was younger.
I mean,
He's very much a victim of the Fire Nation, just like his kids is.
No, he's not, because you're justifying cruelty as order.
That's exactly what colonization is, though.
Yeah, it is, but I'm just saying, like, to sit here and say that he is a result of the Fire Nation rather than
is.
the perpetuator of that ideology.
Two things could be true at one time, though.
I disagree, man.
Because he was born into that system.
All right.
Disagree.
Well, I think we'll just agree to disagree on that. We're getting a little sidetracked here, but I feel like this is one of those episodes.
That's because this is Avatar. This is the last
Yeah, you
Airbender.
could
This is
just-
one of the best shows
we
ever.
answered everything.
Yeah, like literally. So I think we should touch on the Avatar state. I mean, we haven't talked about the Avatar state.
Okay.
Really, like we haven't talked about it. I think, as we see, Aang kind of, and I liked how they balanced it in the show. Obviously Aang needed to find who he was, his identity, but also he needed to build that balance with the Avatar state. Because as they kind of talked about it, and what kind of ticked me off about it, but also I kind of understood as I got older, is like a lot of the things like he had to find the answers himself. And the only way he could find it was within. So, he would see glimpses of the previous avatars in the Avatar state, but they would never really tell him like what's going on. And that was kind of what we talked about the other day with the spiritual symbols. Mm-hmm. There was a meaning behind every one, but Aang had to kind of find out. Like when Aang disappeared with the big like wolf looking thing
In the forest.
Yeah, in the forest.
Yeah.
So like obviously that was a kind of an elemental purpose for him to kind of progress his spiritual side, because as the Avatar they needed to be strong on both the physical aspect and the spiritual side.
I feel it. So I feel like having the Avatar and going into the Avatar state as a link between physical, spiritual, and also for the Avatar themselves having a past link.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is an immense responsibility
It's huge because for
to
them,
place on one person.
yeah, because I feel like in the Avatar state they didn't really. It was kind of like a place for them to, find answers or seek questions, like if they have questions or whatever. But
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times in the show we felt that it was for them to ask questions, but in turn it actually left more open-ended, unanswered questions than we saw with.
Well, that's because they
getting
just a
fixed.
guide, though. They don't really necessarily give you the answer. They just kind of guide you to help you find the answers.
But yeah, that's why I say like I feel like it left it that way because obviously Aang was so young, so he didn't really, and I think you saw the frustration throughout some of the episodes because he couldn't, he really couldn't figure stuff out sometimes, and it really really, really just kept dragging on. And obviously, like, he felt this immense pressure because he's the Avatar. He has to master all the elements, and he has to master the Avatar state and the spiritual side. So it's like you kind of saw that immense pressure in some of those episodes, which I kind of liked because it kind of tore him between humanity and spirituality. Like, he had to be strong in both. He couldn't just pick one or the other.
Yeah. I think the Avatar state, it allowed Aang to connect to others, but as you were saying, it also isolated him.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much you can take in from a guide. And you got to look, he has so many different voices giving him their opinion. And at the end of the day, these avatars also failed in their own aspect at some point, like you were saying earlier, like that human aspect. So it's also like, how much can I actually depend on you to give me information or feedback that I can implement that has some wisdom and not just a perpetuation of your misguided.
I think it was like that for him because he rejected the Avatar state for a little bit. Like, he wasn't really trying to go into Avatar mode because
that's because
overwhelming it is.
Well, no, that's
because he had a lot of regret too, though.
Yeah, I don't think he rejected it initially because of anything other than the simple fact of the destruction of it.
That's what I think
because he hurt Katara.
He wasn't
and he rejected.
in control.
That's why he rejected the Avatar state, because the people, as we see throughout the show, the Avatar state is not, also it's a combination of all the avatars. So it's like you're embracing their knowledge as what, like, every other avatar's knowledge all into one. So that's why when you saw Aang, when he started doing it, he was bending every element all at once, and like combined. So because you're becoming one avatar from like previous 100 avatars. Yeah. So you're combining all the strength, and that's when he lost that control. That's when he kind of saw him like, I don't want to do it, but even though he had to do it. But he couldn't control it, and that was the thing. Like, he had to learn how to control it.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to say though is he was rejecting the Avatar state from initially because he didn't want to be the Avatar at all in the beginning.
Yeah, he didn't.
He was running away. He was running away from the whole thing, and
that's why he was delayed in his bending too.
Yeah, that's why he didn't know anything about earth, fire, or water. He rejected the entire thing because he just wanted to be normal.
Before he went into before he was frozen, he knew he was going to be the Avatar.
Yeah. So, but remember, he ran away. That's how he ended up being frozen. Yeah. He ran away, and then for him to wake up and everybody's gone. So he struggled with it. So he had to learn how to even go into the Avatar state, go into stories with his past selves, being able to learn how to listen to them. I think he did a really good job of listening. He always listened, but it just went against what his core was in the beginning because he didn't want to be the Avatar at all. And then every time he went into the Avatar state in the beginning, it was like a consequence that happened behind that. When he went into the Avatar state, when they stole Appa, you know what I'm saying? It was terrifying. Yeah, it was terrifying. And then he hurt Katara, which I think was the biggest learning lesson for him. Yeah. When he went into the Avatar state.
But it was cool to see, that over-ending arc of him actually conquering the Avatar state or becoming more controlled. Because I don't think we truly saw him conquer it, but I think he was in very much of control of the Avatar state.
I think he did conquer it, but I think he was in total control by the time he fought.
Because he was turning up on Ozai.
Yeah, and he was, and just to know the entire fight, he was holding back because when he really wanted to be like, all right, this is over with, it was over with.
Nah, dude, you can't sit here and tell me like you got one element. I got all of them.
But he was real strong in that element.
Ozai was strong.
He was real strong in that element.
But that's the reason why he was the way he was because it's like when you meet somebody who's just they're strong-minded. That it's really hard to get them to do anything because they only know one way and one thing only. Yeah. So but I think that's where we saw Ozai kind of, he kind of faulted because Aang started really throwing curveballs. Yeah,
he did. He started going crazy. Yeah, he started going really crazy.
I think when Aang wasn't bending all the elements at once at first. He was choosing between water and earth, and then obviously fire and air. He was just defending at that point. But when he went to started to go offensive,
it was over with.
Really saw it was done.
I feel like the Fire Nation really just overreached though because y'all had like 100 years without the Avatar and still didn't conquer everything. Yeah, I should just call it a day. Just call it a day. Like,
that's quite a bit.
Get your ball and go home.
Maybe that boils down to like what Wash was saying with the mechanisms. Like maybe these things took a lot of time,
Yeah,
and obviously because
that's
they weren't
true.
really in touch with the bending anymore. Because once they started sacrificing their own men, they started doing all these things. They kind of lost touch with the bending.
Yeah.
Like they lost touch with the
original
origins.
masters,
the origins of it.
dragons or whatever.
Yeah, so they lost touch with it, and I think you kind of see that.
Yeah,
Because
you do.
Even, like I said, even majority of the other benders, they weren't as strong. Like, there really weren't that many strong benders in the Fire Nation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you obviously, other than the main characters, you really didn't have nothing. Like,
you had Iroh, Azula,
but I mean, really,
Ozai.
you saw Iroh, like, what, once? And he didn't even really touch.
He's a dragon, bro.
He didn't even really touch his troop, like his.
He
his
was
highest
chilling.
potential.
He
Yeah.
was chilling when they locked him up. My boy was in there doing push-ups.
I mean,
he was just
what
chilling.
he got to do, bruh?
He was just chilling. But when he came outside, though,
Yeah.
and he turned up. And then the other fire dude, what was his name? He was the master that they met at first that didn't want to teach Aang how to bend.
Oh, you're talking about the dude on the mountain?
Yeah, that had the little fro or whatever.
Yeah,
I wasn't really a fro. It just give me the mindset of a fro.
No, you're talking about when they No, that's before they discovered the solstice.
His old pupil was General Zhang.
Yeah,
And he didn't like how General Zhang turned out, so he didn't want to have no more like.
I think that was the dude in the mountain.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah,
I
when
think he was
they
in the
came, like when they found out, like he was training with them, and then because it was before the summer solstice.
Yeah, it was before all that.
But I think honestly,
he was a beast too, though.
This is one of those episodes. Like this is one of those episodes. Like literally, you could talk for so long about it.
Yeah, we might have to run this one back.
Yeah, like I feel like honestly, it's just one of those things. Like there's so much that we haven't touched.
Yeah.
And about any of it, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we should definitely run this back so we can give it do some real justice on The Last Airbender, and probably narrow it down to like certain scenes that we think was the most important or whatever.
Yeah, and I think we should touch on the parallels between the live action and the animated as well. I know there's some controversy in that with
live action trash.
I liked it.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
That's a thought.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, it's not like
it.
it's not like the
Hyping
animated.
up mid.
It's not me.
Mid.
Okay, it is kind of like
Shows,
it's
bro.
kind of like a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10.
For me, I liked it
5 or
because
6.
it kind of showed like it kind of showed for me like some of the things that we didn't really see in the anime or the cartoon we didn't see. So like I liked it. It's like kind of humanizing it more than anything. So that's really the only reason why I liked it, because it's like it feels more human because you're seeing like actual people.
I think it was pretty decent though. We could probably just get into that on the next one.
Yeah,
and you can tell us why you feel the way you feel, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. But
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. So I guess to end it.
Yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up. This is a bit of a long one, like I said. But I think we should definitely do a part 2 of this, because there are some things that we definitely probably missed. So if you guys feel like we missed anything, feel free to drop a comment on Spotify. And like I said, we appreciate everyone for showing massive support and listening to the podcast. And if there's also anything that you guys would like to see us cover or talk about, be sure to just leave us a comment as well. And if you are listening and you haven't liked or subscribed yet, feel free to do that now. We are available now on all platforms, so we're on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. But we appreciate you guys listening, and that's a wrap for today. We'll be on to the next side quest in the next one.
Yeah, appreciate it.